Hey guys, it's MMA Vulture coming at you live with UFC Vegas 97 Burns versus Brady recap. First fight of the night that we have is Zygimantas Ramaska versus Nathan Fletcher. And we're going to go ahead and talk about Ramaska first. So he came out, he hit Nathan with a couple of nice shots, hit him on the chin, hit him with some dirty elbows from below. But that's about all I can say from Ramaska, because Nathan Fletcher looked dominant. He had an obvious grappling advantage. Even with a staph infection, he didn't look fatigued. He looked strong. He started very quick with the takedown. Like I said before, he did get caught a couple of times by Ramaska in the beginning, but after that it was basically all Fletcher. He looked dominant. He took him down pretty easily, no hesitation. Ramaska didn't really have the greatest takedown defense. He did have decent reversals, I will say that, but other than that, Nathan Fletcher looked a lot better overall. Moving on to the next fight, we have a sleeper fight. Like I said before in my previous video, this one, as I saw, was going to be exactly what it was. A sleeper fight. It was boring. It was a snooze fest. It was literally just Petroski just sitting on top of Budka. Budka had no way of getting up. He had no jiu-jitsu. He was bouncing a lot and moving a lot, even though he's known to not have the greatest gas tank. When Petroski took him down to the ground, he didn't even attempt to really get up. He was more or less just hugging him to survive the whole time. And on the other side, Petroski was pushing the pace. He had great combinations. He was taking him down, smothering him, putting pressure on Budka the entire time. And Budka just had no answer for it. Budka just looked awful, in my opinion, and I think he's going to get released after this. And my lock of the night, André Petroski hit. Moving on, we have Jaqueline Amorim versus Vanessa Demopoulos. In this one, it ended very quick. Amorim, she started off with the quick pace, attacked early, got the early takedown, applied pressure the whole time, smothered Vanessa until she found the armbar, which is what I called in my previous video. She smothered her, she put her in uncomfortable positions until she found that armbar, which hasn't been done in a while in the women's division. And Vanessa ended up she was saying that Amorim's fingers were in the glove, but I don't really think that they were in the glove. And either way, you still have to defend yourself. And she didn't defend herself, and Amorim came out with a W and got the armbar, just like I said. So if anybody had that prop, good stuff. Moving on, we have Yizha versus Gabriel Santos. And this was a great fight. Gabriel Santos looked amazing on all fronts. He was noticeably better at boxing. He had great striking in terms of precision, picking his shots. His kicks looked good. His front kick was insane, which ended up actually dropping Yizha in the late first round. And he also looked good he's a good counterpuncher, I noticed. Now, on the flip side, Yizha, he leaves himself open to straight shots, which is why he got dropped in the first by a front kick. He kept getting tagged by Gabriel Santos's straight shots, his jabs. He is tough. He is as tough as they come. Man, he was taking a beating from Gabriel all 3 rounds. And Gabriel just looked amazing. He had great takedown defense. He He looked all around great. And he looks like he's going to be in the top 10 ranked very soon here, is my belief on Gabriel Santos. He is really good. On to the next, we have Felipe dos Santos versus Andre Lima. And in this fight, I did have Felipe dos Santos, and he did end up losing. He did not look the best. He looked very wild, chaotic. He wasn't really selecting his shots great. His grappling didn't look all too great against Lima. Actually, Lima's grappling looked a lot better than Felipe's. He was controlling him. He had great leg kicks. Andre Lima had very precise strikes. Wasn't chaotic. He was picking his shots against Felipe, making sure not to get too wild, not to get compromised. He was pressuring him the whole time, smothering him, making him uncomfortable. He also, I noticed, was adjusting. A thing about Andre Lima is he's great at adjusting. He has great IQ. He figures out what Dos Santos was doing, which was the leg kicks, and he was staying back. He was reading them, and overall, he just looked a lot better than Felipe dos Santos on the feet, even grappling, where I thought Dos Santos was supposed to have the advantage. Andre Lima just looked better and had all the advantage in the world compared to Felipe dos Santos. And that's why he ended up winning. Moving along, we have Isaac Dulgarian versus Brendon Marotte. So for this one, this is pretty much exactly how I thought it was going to go down. Isaac, as soon as the fight starts, instant takedown. Goes instantly for a takedown, takes his back, starts ground and pounding him. I honestly thought this was not going to leave the first round, in my opinion. I did not see Brendon Marotte making it out the first round, but he ended up doing it. He had no takedown defense. Yeah, he really had no ground game at all. He same as Budka, he wasn't even trying to really get up or work towards getting up. He just kind of looked like a deer in headlights, like he had no clue what he was doing. And Isaac just took full advantage of him and just manhandled him for both rounds, and then just got the sub in the second round, ultimately putting away Marotte. Moving along, we have Rongzhu versus Padilla, our featured prelim. And in this one was wild. I honestly think this one was a great fight. So Rongzhu came out. He had great kicks. He was pushing the pace. He looked amazing. He looked like $1,000,000. And he had powerful hands. Padilla, he had good calf kicks. He had great elbows, great fight IQ, patient. He had good knees up the middle. All around, Padilla looked great, and so did Rongzhu. I just think that Padilla, his fight IQ showed, and he started taking over, and really just showing he's the better fighter over Rongzhu. Rongzhu is tough. He looked great. His hands looked great. He had speedy hands, speedy punches, great kicks from the outside, great punches from the outside, a nice jab. All right, takedown defense. Like he's all right. I think Padilla is ultimately all around a better fighter, and it just showed today. And he has mean elbows. I don't know if any of you guys remember from the last video, the weigh-in recap, he actually was pointing to his elbow like this. He was pointing to his elbow, showing that he was going to get an elbow knockout, and that's exactly what ended up happening here. Moving along, we have Trevor Peak versus Yanal Ashmouz. So for this fight was very, very interesting. I had Trevor Peak, and same with kind of like the Felipe dos Santos. He had wild punches. He was just swinging. He's tough. He has heavy hands. He was headhunting a lot. He wasn't really striking too much to the body like he should have. He should have been striking a little bit more to the body, a little bit more to the legs, really mixing it up. Yanal, he was patient. He had great takedowns. The only thing I did see with Yanal is that every time he did take down Trevor, Trevor got up right away. So Yanal kind of struggled with control in keeping them down to the ground. He can take them down, but he needs to work on maintaining the control of keeping them down. He did have good boxing. He looked great on the feet. He looked great on the ground. He just overall looked way better than Trevor Peak, and I thought Trevor Peak was a bulldog. I thought he was going to pull this off, but the Red Fox, he was great. He was a great fighter. Moving along, we have Matt Schnell versus Cody Durden. So this fight, when it first started, Matt Schnell came out quick. He had quick hands. He looked great. He was countering punches good. He had a couple low calf kicks on Cody Durden that looked good, that were having an effect to Cody. His boxing looked a lot better, a lot crisper. And then Cody was throwing a little bit wild of punches, but he was throwing at high volume. He wasn't using as much grappling in the first round, and then come to the second round, he shot for a takedown. Not shot for a takedown, sorry. He got pushed. Matt Schnell came after him and ultimately grabbed the neck of Matt Schnell. Not a takedown. And he took this fight on 4 days' notice. 4 days' notice, and ended up beating Matt Schnell by submission via guillotine. That is crazy. A 4-day notice, and I knew Cody Durden was going to win. I think Matt Schnell is a very mediocre fighter, like I said before, and it is what it is. He actually ended up retiring after this fight. He laid down his gloves, and that's it. Moving right along, we have Steve Garcia versus Kyle Nelson in what was a crazy fight. Kyle Nelson came out, looked good. He had good grappling. Got top control of Steve Garcia early because Steve slipped, fell, and Kyle took advantage of that, was on top, hitting him, ground and pounding him, and then ultimately Steve Garcia ended up reversing it, taking top control from Kyle Nelson, started laying down heavy ground and pound, started really smothering him, putting pressure on him, throwing, making him uncomfortable, and ultimately got the elbow knockout, which was crazy. And he looked like a savage. He looked like a mean machine savage. And I'm excited to see Steve Garcia, where he goes, who he goes up against. I'm very excited to see how far he makes it. He's a powerful puncher and a great all-around fighter. Now moving along, we have Jessica Andrade versus Natália Silva. And this was a great matchup here. We have Jessica, heavy-handed, constant pressure, the veteran. She does throw wild hook flurries sometimes, but ultimately she didn't look terrible. She gave a good fight against Natália Silva, and Natália looked good on all fronts. Great side and calf kicks that actually her side kick ended up putting Jessica down whenever she came in close, as well as precise striking, good takedown defense. She looked quicker, had better footwork, than Jessica Andrade. She actually has one of the best footwork I've seen in the women's division. Another thing to note about her is she's very quick. Her hands are very, very quick, and she just ultimately looked great against a veteran in the league that's Jessica Andrade. I mean, what is there more to say? She's a great fighter. Natália Silva just got the better of her and is ultimately an all-around better fighter than her. And I did pick Natália Silva to win on this one. Moving along to the main event. If you haven't yet, like and subscribe. Follow the TikTok and Instagram. Alright, now we have Gilbert Durinho Burns versus Sean Brady. And this was not what I expected. Sean Brady came out. He looked sharp. He had great striking. His combinations looked great. His takedown defense looked great. When Gilbert tried to take him down, he actually stood up very quickly. He smothered Durinho for almost every single round, was smothering him, putting pressure on Gilbert, really making him uncomfortable because, I mean, Gilbert has had 30 fights. He's old. He's getting to the end of his time. And Gilbert he has great takedowns. He just couldn't maintain control. Whenever he took Sean Brady down, Sean Brady got right back up. Gilbert throws very loopy shots, like I said before, which is what he was throwing. Heavy-handed, but Sean Brady, ultimately, the younger prospect, just overwhelmed him, just overpressured him, just overall looked better than him in every single way possible. And Sean Brady ended up winning via decision, and I think Sean Brady is next up. I think he's next up. He has great grappling, great striking, as we saw. He showed off his striking because people have been saying he doesn't have the best striking, but I think he actually does have great striking going up against Gilbert Burns, who has been up against elite competition and has elite striking. And Sean Brady showed that he can be up to par with him, even be better than him, as showed in this fight right here. So I'm interested to see what's his next move and who he goes up against next. And that's all for today. Thank you.